What's up, YouTube? This your boy Bigboyfactsjonnytv, and tonight I'm gonna give you guys my AEW Dynamite review on highlights. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, tap the notification bell every time I upload a video, go live on YouTube. Also, give this video a thumbs up. And by the way, follow my social media, my Twitter, my Instagram, and TikTok, and Twitch, and Discord down below in the description. And let's get started. Now, AEW Dynamite was a good show. I enjoyed it for what it was. We're kicking things off with the TNT Championship Unification ladder match. Sammy Guevara versus Cody Rhodes. This match was fantastic and insane at the same time. I will put this match right here should have been main evented. Alright, from there we see Cody Rhodes standing on top on his ring entrance. As JR sends the broadcast down to the Dapper Yapper Justin Roberts for the pre-match ring introductions. Our TNT Championship Unification ladder match will kick off tonight's special Beach Break edition of Dynamite. Justin Roberts finished up his introductions for Sammy Guevara and Cody and exits the ring. The bell sounds and roll off and running. Cody and Sammy Guevara shake hands, and then Cody smacks Sammy Guevara on the chest, and the two begin to get after it. We see Cody roll away from an offensive attempt by Sammy and then taunting him a bit. Now the two lock up. Sammy Guevara sends Cody into the ropes, but Cody comes off them and shoulder tackles Sammy down to the mat. He throws up a one-arm bicep pose to add insult to injury. Sammy Guevara knocks Cody down moments later and then taunts him right back while the fans chant Sammy Guevara. After the match, after some more back and forth action, Cody hooks Sammy's arm and looks for a Tiger Driver 98. However, Sammy counters and holds the American Nightmare up with intentions of hitting his GTH finisher, but Cody avoids it. The action continues. And after Sammy gets Cody down, he slides out of the ring and looks to bring a ladder into the mix for the first time in the bout. Cody ends up taking Sammy Guevara out in the entrance, and then he retrieves another nearby ladder and drapes it across the ring apron and barricade, separating the fans. Nothing happens with it as Sammy Guevara attacks Cody and the fight spills into the crowd. The two trade shots as they pass by a bunch of the fans inside the Wolstein Center. As we hear a Sammy Guevara chant break out, Cody hits a big clothesline that knocks Sammy Guevara over the barricade back into the ringside floor. As Cody glows in the crowd, Sammy comes flying off the barricade and takes Cody out with a big splash. The fight makes its way back into the ring, and for the first time we see a ladder make an appearance inside the square circle. The ladder gets set up in the middle of the ring. Each guy takes turns climbing in an attempt to capture the TNT Championship hanging from the rafters. However, each time they are stopped. Finally, they each climb up opposite side of the ladder at the same time. While the fans break out into a split "Let's go Sammy Guevara" chant and "Cody sucks" chant. The two duke it out on the top of each side of the ladder. Cody ends up getting the better of the exchange. He hooks Sammy and sends him for a long ride off the ladder as he connects with a big superplex off the top. After the two land, we see immediate intimidate replay of the spot. From there, Excalibur talks us into a mid-match commercial break as the action continues. When we return from the break, we see the ladder set upside down and unfolded in the ring. Cody and then holds Sammy Guevara up and hits the inverted suplex, dropping Sammy Guevara straight on first in the middle of the opening. We see some intimidating replays of that as Cody follows up by securing a figure four leg lock on Sammy Guevara with a ladder placed on the top of him. The fans try and rally behind Sammy but chanting his name. Meanwhile, Cody Rhodes sets the ladder back up the normal way in the middle of the ring under the TNT Championship. Cody blasts Sammy Guevara with a pair of knife-edge chops. He turns and boosts in again. This decision backfires on him as Sammy fires up for an offensive comeback. Cody ends up cutting it short after throwing a ladder at Sammy Guevara, Sabu steel chair style. Now we see a second ladder introduced into the mix with both set up next to each other in the ring. Sammy leaps from one and hits a flying cutter to bring Cody off of the other. We see multiple camera angles show replays of this hot spot as the fans break out into the thunderous "Holy you know what" chant. After the two recover and gets back after it, we see another wild spot as Cody hits a crazy crossroads to bring himself and Sammy off the two ladders. Both guys end up climbing up. It says both guys end up climbing up a ladder, and a few moments later, and each end up grabbing onto the bar holding the TNT Championship as the ladder is knocked out from under them. We see the two continue to hang on, but ultimately both drop and crash and burn on the mat down below. The fans are going nuts as the physicality and intensity of this one picks up. Alright, with the action spilling out to the floor at ringside, we see Cody repeatedly slam a ladder onto the knee of Sammy Guevara after doing this a few times. Sammy Guevara's best friend, Fuego del Sol, runs out to scold Cody for his vicious behavior. Cody ends up hitting him with a crossroads. Immediately after this, Sammy Guevara comes flying into the picture as he connects with a splash after springboarding off the top rope. He hits another hot spot and then takes Cody to the floor where he hits his GTH finisher at ringside. As Cody is down and out, Sammy Guevara brings out another ladder from under the ring and creates a ladder bridge from the ring apron to the ringside barricade. He then brings out and sets up another ladder in front of the aforementioned ladder bridge. He hits Cody with a couple of shots to ensure he stays out while it lays across the ladder bridge, and then he begins climbing up the additional ladder. He does the "I'm crazy" hand gesture after setting on the top of the ladder. He extends his arm and soaks in the atmosphere before leaping off and hitting a senton splash onto Cody. Sammy looks to be nearly as beaten up as Cody after taking that fall. Both guys are down and out as the commentators talks us through multiple replays of that wild hot spot. Sammy Guevara is back to his feet first. He re-enters the ring. He sets up a ladder and begins climbing as Cody is also finally back up and moving. Cody now enters the ring and climb up after Sammy. The two began trading shots on the opposite side of the ladder. Sammy hits Cody with one of the hanging belts, which knocks him down to the mat below. He unhooks both TNT Championship belts to win the match and become the undisputed TNT champion. Great opening match for this beach break special edition of AEW Dynamite on TBS. The winner and your new undisputed TNT champion, Sammy Guevara. This match was fantastic, but at the same time, this match right here should have been main evented. But I enjoyed this match. But anyway, let's move on. Team Taz with a message from the snowy beach in Cleveland. After the opening contest wraps up, the commentator team sends things over to an early today segment where Tony Schiavone talks to Team Taz member Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs at the snowy beach in Cleveland, Ohio. Powerhouse Hobbs talks first, addressing his loss to Dante Martin. He challenged him to a rematch. The FTW champion Ricky Starks then speaks up and ends up making a match with himself, taking on Jay Lethal on Rampage. So we get a handicap match: Rollo versus Elijah Dean and James Alexander. Okay, this match wasn't too long. You know what I'm saying? How now we head back inside the Wolstein Center where Rollo's theme song begins playing. Out comes the enforcer of the Pinnacle faction, accompanied by the chairman of AEW, Shawn Spears. After being introduced from Cleveland, Ohio, the site of tonight's show, Rollo gets the hometown hero reception. As he settles into the ring, the Dabba Yabba introduced his two opponents for this 2-on-1 handicap match: Elijah Dean and James Alexander. The bell sounds and we're off and running with this one. We immediately see Rollo nearly take the head off of Dean and James Alexander with a big clothesline. He then begins to powerbomb Sympathy as he hosts Dean up and brings him down with a vengeance. He does the same to Alexander and then begins currying them out like butter over and over and over again, finishing a power bombing one of his opponents into the other and putting his boot on them for an arrogant pin fall, which secures him the easy victory. After the match, we head to another commercial break. The winner of the match, Rollo. So Chris Jericho, Santana, and Ortiz versus Daniel Garcia and Team 2.0. We return from the break to the familiar sound of Judas in My Mind by Fozzy. With that said, out comes the leader of the Inner Circle, Lee Champion Chris Jericho. The fans sing along as he makes his way to the ring along with Santana and Ortiz. The Inner Circle trio settles into the ring and continues singing the lyrics to the song as the music fades down. Jericho applauds them and then the six-man and this advertised AEW Trios match decides who will start things off for their respective teams. The bell sounds, we're off and running. Chris Jericho and Matt Lee kick things off for each team. Santana ends up tagging himself in before anything happens, which confused Chris Jericho, but ends up affecting Santana even worse as he is ambushed from behind and ultimately double teamed by Lee and Jeff Parker. Team 2.0 beat down Santana and then Parker settled in the ring as the legal man. Santana starts to fight back into the competitive from and begins hitting 3 suplexes in a row on him, tagging in Ortiz to hit one final one as a double suplex. Ortiz goes for a follow-up splash and then covers Jeff Parker, but Parker kicks out after the count of 2. As the action continues, we see a pattern evolve where Santana and Ortiz are only tag each other in, and as tally including the champion from each match. Eventually, Chris Jericho tags himself in, and this leads to an argument with the Inner Circle trio in this match. On that note, we head to a mid-match commercial break as the action continues. When we return from the break, we see Lee and Parker hitting some double team spots on Ortiz. Santana tries entering the mix but gets stopped. Finally, he does enter the mix and helps his proud and powerful brother. Later in the match, we see one member of the duo gets hit with a cheap shot. The other member makes it over for the much needed tag, but still decided to tag in the barely standing Santana. This leads to some more bad vibes with the inner circle as Jericho is clearly upset about this. We end up seeing Jericho take matters into his own hands as he connects with a Judas effect that sets up the pinfall victory for Santana Ortiz. He leaves without them and yells something at them for their interest. There is definitely trouble brewing with the inner circle. The winner of the match, Chris Jericho, Santana, and Ortiz. So we get Hangman Page and Lance Archer to do battle in Texas Death Match. We shoot to a Van Nij, whatever that is. Vigneties further the ongoing rival between Hangman Adam Page and the Motorhawk Monster Lance Archer, as it announced during the video package that the two will square off in 2 weeks' time in a Texas Death Match with the AEW World Heavyweight Championship on the line. After the wrap up, we head back to another commercial break. Jurassic Express and Private Party versus I'm sorry. Jurassic Express and Power Party match set for Rampage. As we settle back and from the break, we see Tony Schiavone standing in the staircase with Matt Hardy and Private Party, as well as Christian Cage and Jurassic Express. Tony Schiavone begins by asking Christian Cage a question, and he goes on to bring up being attacked last week by Matt Hardy and company. Hardy says his thoughts didn't matter, and then we're here Jungle Boy and Power Party bicker as a match is announced for Rampage between the two teams. CM Punk and MJF match set for next week. The Pinnacle beats CM Punk down. Now we return inside the Wolstein Center where the familiar sound of a cult of personality plays as CM Punk emerges from the entrance area and begins making his walk towards the square circle. As the commentators point out, the best in the world appears to be dressed in his wing gear, presumably because he is ready for a fight. They plug the return of AEW to the Wintrust Arena in Chicago, CM Punk's hometown. He settles in the ring and his music dies down. CM Punk gets on the mic and thanks the Cleveland fans for the warm reception. He says he came out here trying to look like a bad, but he ended up smiling ear to ear. He then points out how he's ready to fight, and that's why he's wearing his ring gear. From there, he points out the obvious, which is that there's one specific person he wants to trade punches with. It's MJF. The fans in Cleveland, Ohio, began chanting his name. CM Punk tells them to go ahead and say it. Be the only time anyone hears fans chant for MJF. He has some fun with the crowd and then show off a sake he took home from his last interaction with MJF. He then opens his jacket to expose the trademark scarf of MJF. He talks about it being as cheap as MJF's personality. Finally, MJF mutes the kids and out he comes to interrupt CM Punk. He taunts CM Punk and the fans once again acting like he's going to wrestle CM Punk on the spot, only to make it clear that he won't. He bashed Cleveland and he fans promoting them to break out in a loud, you know what, chant. And from there, MJF says he'll do one better than give everyone a match they've been waiting for next week in Chicago, Illinois. He says it will be CM Punk versus MJF, and then quickly says, but he points out that they not in Chicago right now. Now but rather in crappy Cleveland. As MJF continues to rant, CM Punk cuts him off and says, "Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it right here." You know what? MJF doesn't acknowledge that and then proceeds to taunt and trash Cleveland, Ohio, and the fans in attendance. He makes a reference about Cleveland, Ohio once loving LeBron James too. He asks how that went for them. He brings up the viewing audience at home and says all their chant from CM Punk isn't going to do anything but the same thing it did last time, result in CM Punk leaving in the complaining about it on a podcast. CM Punk reacts and says a podcast that MJF listened to because he's a fan. CM Punk refer, reference leaving WWE as the best thing he ever done, and if it weren't for that, MJF wouldn't be having to brush with greatness that he is having right now. CM Punk talks about how you got to take matters into your own hands. He continues talking to CM Punk like he's nothing more than a fan. He says he never lied to the people. He says the fans don't love him because he always wins or because of his loss. He says they love him because he always gets back up and keeps trying. MJF asks CM Punk if it's going to get back up this time and proceed to bring out the rest of the Pinnacle except for Shawn Spears. Shawn Spears ends up showing up from behind and attacking CM Punk. The Pinnacle joins him in the ring, and we see a multiple person beat down of CM Punk as the fans erupt with boos. Then they break out into a chant of CM Punk as the Pinnacle holds his arms and legs while Shawn Spears blasts and unprotected CM Punk with a steel chair shot. MJF taunts CM Punk and asks him to get up now. CM Punk does, but he is held back by the Pinnacle. They beat him down again, and then MJF demands that Warlow powerbomb CM Punk. Shawn Spears sets a chair up for Warlow to powerbomb him on Warlow hesitate, but he ultimately hosted CM Punk up and plant him onto the steel chair, spine first with a vicious power bomb. MJF turns CM Punk over and then sits on him in a growing fashion. He says it's only fitting that CM Punk's journey ends the same place it begins. He then ends the segment by saying, "I'll see you next in Chicago." His music plays to end the segment. Alright. The Acclaim with a message for Jon Moxley. From one loud mouth to say the commentators who send things backstage to the Acclaim. Max Caster and Anthony Bowens talk about the Jon Moxley match from last week and then make some cracks about him looking like Al Bundy. Ultimately, a match is announced, putting Anthony Bowens 1-on-1 against Jon Moxley on this week's Rampage. After this quick backstage promo segment wraps up, we head to another commercial break. Jay Cargill choose opponent for next TBS Women's Title defense. We shoot backstage where Tony Schiavone is standing with Griff Garrison and Julia Hart of the Varsity Blondes. Before they can say much of anything, up walks Smart Mark Sterling in a neck brace holding a contract. Sterling informs Hart that Jay Corgill has selected her to be the next challenger for the TBS Women's Championship. Garrison doesn't like the idea as Julian Hart is still wearing an eye patch, but she insists she's ready to fight and signs the paper to make the match official. So we get legit Layla Hirsch versus Red Velvet. Okay, this was this was a decent match. Decent match for what it was. Now we shoot back inside the Wolstein Center in Cleveland, where legit Layla Hirsch's theme music hits. The women's contender makes her way down to the ring for our next match of the evening. Legit Layla Hirsch settles inside the square circle, and her theme music fades down. Now the theme for Red Velvet hits, and she sprints her way into the ring. The two collide, and this one gets off with a bang. Layla Hirsch quickly takes over and starts taking to Red Velvet. The action spills out of the ring to the floor the action spills out to the ring to the floor at ringside. Legit Layla Hirsch dominates there as well, but not for long. As Red Velvet takes back over. On the ring apron, Red Velvet hits a big stunner on Layla Hirsch across the middle rope. We see the action resume inside the ring, where Red Velvet looks for a submission on legit Layla Hirsch. She slaps a modified triangle choke from the bottom position, but Layla Hirsch muscles her up and power bombs herself free by slamming Red Velvet into the turnbuckle in the corner. Legit Layla Hirsch is now focusing on her offense attack on the shoulder of Red Velvet. Excalibur takes us into a mid-match commercial break as the action in this showdown between the number one and number two ranked women's contenders continues. We're back from the break as we see Layla Hirsch still dominating on the offense until Red Velvet hits a middle rope cutter that leaves both laid out. Red Velvet gets back to her feet first and starts picking up the pace as she takes over the offense. She hits a couple of big spots and goes for the cover, but Layla Hirsch kicks out at the count of two. As Red Velvet looks for the final slice, Layla Hirsch counters it and hits a big knee lift to the doom of Red Velvet. She goes for the cover, but instead transitioning into the legit look submission hold. She nearly finishes Red Velvet off, however, Red Velvet gets her boot on the ropes, forcing the referee to break the hold. The match continues with Layla Hirsch putting the boot on Red Velvet in the corner. Red Velvet tries for a counter, but Layla Hirsch scoops her leg out from under her and looks for an ankle lock. Red Velvet counters into a pin attempt, but Layla Hirsch kick out. Layla Hirsch ends up countering Red Velvet moments later and rolling her up for the pinfall. The winner of the match, legit Layla Hirsch. Layla Hirsch continues to attack on Red Velvet. Chris Statlander makes the save. Once that match wraps up, Layla Hirsch isn't satisfied, so she continues to beat down Red Velvet. She reapplies her legit lock submission finisher and cracks back with all she got until Chris Statlander sprints out to the ring from the back. She makes the save and runs Layla Hirsch off to end the post-match segment. So we get the House of Black with matches for Pac and Death Triangle. We shoot to the last matches from Malachi Black and the House of Black. He and Brody King talk about Pac and Death Triangle. They vow to beat them down and have them praying for death. So we get Sammy Guevara and Fuego del Sol flip through cards and during break. After this wraps up, we see Sammy Guevara come out with his signed cards Fuego del Sol accompanies him, and as we head to another commercial break, the two flip through the cars to deliver a message to the viewing audience in the muted half of the screen. Britt Baker taunts Cleveland Brown and gloats over her accomplishments. All right, we return from the break to Tony Schiavone in the ring with a table with a bunch of awards and some stands holding cover of pro wrestling instru- magazines were showing. Tony Schiavone then introduced his guest at this time, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. On that note, the AEW Women's Champion makes her way out in Pittsburgh Steelers color and holding a terrible towel to taunt the Browns fans in Cleveland. She settles in the ring and Tony Schiavone hands the mic over to her. Britt Baker talks about how long has it been since she has been in the ring with a mic in her hand. She says it's criminal, and it's been so long that proceeds to taunt the Cleveland fans some more over the Steelers versus Browns rivalry. From there, she gloats about the aforementioned award and magazine cover. She keeps taunting the Cleveland Browns and praised the Steelers, citing some specific examples, then making a reference to Adam Cole with a bay drop. She boosts a bit more and then exits the ring, draping herself in a big Pittsburgh Steelers flag to further stick it to Browns fans in Cleveland. Matches announced for Friday's Rampage and next week's AEW Dynamite. The commentators run down the lineup for this week's Rampage, and then a brief video package is shown to remind fans about the match putting Brock Anderson and Lee Johnson against FTR. After that, we hear the familiar sound of a woman shrieking the world, "Excuse me." Out comes Vicky Guerrero, accompanied by Nyla Rose. Nyla Rose announced she will be squaring off against Ruby Soho next week. From there, the commentators run down some more matches for Friday Rampage and next week's Dynamite. They give one final plug to tonight's Unsanctioned Lights Out match between Adam Cole and Orange Cassidy. Before sending us into another commercial break. So we get the main event of the evening, the Unsanctioned Lights Out match. Adam Cole versus Orange Cassidy. We're back from the break and we hear the familiar sound of the entrance theme of Adam Cole. He makes his way to the ring as the fans do the Adam Cole Bebe routine along with him. He settled in the ring and his music fades down. Now the equally familiar tune for Orange Cassidy plays, and out comes the freshly squeezed one himself as it time for this one-on-one unsanctioned lights out main event match here on AEW Dynamite Beach Break special event on TBS. Both guys are in the ring and ready to rock, and the bell sounds to get this one off and running. We see Orange Cassidy throw his usual slow moving unfazed style of wrestling routine out the window as he goes after Adam Cole with a vengeance straight out of the gate. Early on, we see his trademark sunglasses get smashed. The action quickly spills out to the floor where some early match hotspots begin to get mixed in. Adam Cole takes control of the offense thus far as he connects with another big spot that leaves Orange Cassidy lay out on the floor selling his wrist as the commentators talk us into a mid-match commercial break. When we come back from the commercials, we see some more weapons have been added to the mix. A steel chair and a trash can gets used. Adam Cole remains in control of the offense, but now we got some added elements in the form of some extra wrestlers. The Best Friends owns Wheeler Yuta takes out Brandon Cutler on the entrance ramp. Bobby Fish takes out Yuta, so out comes Chuck Taylor. Chuck Taylor takes out Bobby Fish, but then turns right into a stereo super kick from Nick and Mac Jackson. The Young Bucks then joins Adam Cole in the ring, and the trio prepared to hit Orange Cassidy with a triple super kick. Instead, Trent and Ricky Romero takes the Young Bucks out of the ring and work them over as Orange Cassidy hits a beach break on Adam Cole in the ring for a super close near fall. He lets out a crazy war scream and then connects with a orange punch. He sells his wrist slash hand that was injured early in the match and isn't able to make the cover in a timely fashion as a result. When Orange Cassidy goes to make the cover, Adam Cole blasts him with a low blow. Orange Cassidy, however, does not react at all. He reveals a steel cup that he was wearing, and then returns to form with his trademark wimpy slash lazy sweet chin music kick before heading up the ropes. He leaps off and connects on Adam Cole with Adam Cole on Panama Sunrise finisher for another very close near fall. The freshly squeezed one doesn't seem to be able to finish off Adam Cole. However, he doesn't seem bothered by this. He finds a steel chain and begins wrapping it around his fist, and as the fans chant his name in the background, he stalks Adam Cole, waits for him to get up, but Adam Cole hightails it and heads up the entrance. Cassidy exits the ring and heads out after him. And in the goal position, aka the gorilla position, we see the action resume as Orange Cassidy catch up with Adam Cole. Adam Cole shifts the offense momentum in his favor. However, putting Orange Cassidy through a table in the goal position for a close near fall as his own. He drills Cassidy with some punches and yells at him to stay down as the two brawl back out through the entrance tunnel. Back back on the entrance ramp, we see Adam Cole connects with a vicious super kick that decks Orange Cassidy. Adam Cole looks to lower the boom on Orange Cassidy to finish him off, but he ends up walking into a big shot from Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy wraps his hand with a steel chain again and heads after Adam Cole with the intentions of hitting him with a steel chain supported Orange Cassidy with the orange punch. Instead, he is met with a big counter shot from Adam Cole. Adam Cole drags the lifeless body of Orange Cassidy out of the middle of the aisle and then glance over to the Raptors, which he begins climbing. He makes his way to the top of the Raptors by the entrance area and does a big pose once up there. However, the camera shot and his viewpoint are both such that no one realizes until it's too late that Orange Cassidy isn't down below any longer. He's right behind him. Orange Cassidy grabs a hold of Adam Cole and makes the big leap. The two crash down through some tables and the production equipment below. He puts an arm over him and gets the 3 count for the victory. And this entertaining. Ascension lights out main event. The commentators talk us through some highlights of the match and then plug matches for Friday's Rampage and next week's Dynamite. This week's show goes off the air with the Best Friends celebrating with Orange Cassidy while album cover remains lays out in the background. Thanks for joining us. The winner of the match, Orange Cassidy. This was a good match. I ain't gonna lie, this was a good match. But anyway, overall, AEW Dynamite was a very good show. This show was way better than Monday Night Raw. And that's all I gotta say from here. But anyway, if you guys enjoy my AEW Dynamite review on highlights, please give this video a thumbs up. Comment down below what are your thoughts on AEW Dynamite tonight. Make sure you guys subscribe to my channel, tap the notification bell when I premiere a brand new video or go live on YouTube. Follow my social media, my Twitter, my Instagram, my TikTok, and Twitch, and Discord down below in the description. You guys have a great night. Stay safe. You guys have a great night. Stay safe. Stay positive, and always, stay true to yourself. This your boy Bigboyfactsjonnytv. Have a great night. Stay safe, and always stay positive. And I'm out of here.